There are three kinds of darkness ruling within you, and the most frightening truth is this. Most men never realize which one is controlling them. You tell yourself that you are strong. You believe that you are free. You convince yourself that you are wise. But the ruthless truth is you are nothing but a puppet. Does that sound familiar? There are invisible strings pulling you every single day, deciding how you love, how you fight, and even how you fall apart. It is this blindness that makes men manipulated, exploited, and then erased from the memory of the world. Yet from within that same darkness, there are others, those who dare look straight into the mirror to face the truth, and they are the ones who rise. Machiavelli once said, "Men are not dangerous because they have darkness, but because they do not know they're controlled by it." True power does not come from pretending to be good. It comes from the moment you are brave enough to face the dark instinct and turn it into a weapon. If you are courageous enough to stand before the mirror and name the shadow within you, comment right below this video, "I face my shadow." Because the very moment you acknowledge, it is the moment you begin to hold real power. The first darkness, the narcissist. There's a kind of man you encounter everywhere. He walks into a room, and immediately his eyes sweep across everyone. Not to find opportunity, not to find power, but to find attention, a glance, a compliment, a nod. To him, these matter more than the air he breathes. Does that feel familiar? You post a picture. 5 minutes go by with no likes. Your chest begins to feel heavy. That is the narcissist within you whispering. The narcissist does not truly love himself. He is addicted to being loved by others. Addicted to recognition, addicted to applause, addicted to admiring eyes. Every compliment is a dose of medicine, but every drug loses its effect. He needs more and more. It is never enough. When you praise him, he shines like the Sunday. When you are silent, he withers. When you challenge him, he shatters. His entire life is built out of mirrors. Mirrors reflecting back the image he wants to believe is real. But mirrors are fragile, and when they break, he collapses. He will tell you he is confident. He will stand tall, smile wide, radiate charisma. You will believe he was born to be great. But just one insult, one cold glance, and he panics. Behind that radiant smile is a trembling child, terrified of not being seen. At work, he always wants his name called. Success, he runs forward to claim the credit. Failure, he disappears and shifts the blame. In meetings, he speaks more than he listens. Every word is a performance not to solve problems, but to ensure every eye is still on him. In love, he is as seductive as fire. He looks at you with eyes that seem to pierce your soul. He whispers words you've never heard from anyone else. He makes you believe you are the only one. But the harsh truth is he never truly sees you. He only sees his own reflection in your eyes. You love him. He feels real. You admire him. He feels strong. You turn away. He sees you as a traitor. Have you ever been in this situation? You accomplished something great, but without praise it feels meaningless. Your heart burns when others walk by without noticing you. That is the narcissist within you speaking. Some narcissists climb to the top in politics, in art, in business. They become exactly what the public craves. Wearing the perfect smile, speaking enchanting words, playing the role of the guiding hero. The public, hungry to be mesmerized, will worship them. But that is also the tragedy. The very thing that lifts them up is what drags them down. When the lights go out, when the applause fades, they fall into the abyss. No more recognition. No more admiring eyes. No more walls of mirrors reflecting back. Only a cold emptiness and the truth they fear most. They are nothing. Have you ever felt the same? Jealous when others are praised, but you are not? Working not for true success, but only for recognition? If you find yourself there, do not deny it, because all of us carry a narcissist within. Some live their entire lives trapped in that shadow, chasing glances, craving compliments, building masks. And one day they burn out. They collapse because their whole life was nothing but an endless performance. But some choose differently. They look straight into that darkness and acknowledge it. They see that external validation is only a sweet trap. They begin to build real value without anyone's applause. At that very moment, they begin to gain true strength. Ask yourself, are the goals you chase truly yours, or just bait for others to praise you? Are the victories you seek born from within, or only for the sound of clapping hands? The truth is the narcissist inside you never disappears. But you can chain him. Turn the addiction to attention into a fire that drives you forward instead of shackling you. If you don't, he will devour you, condemn you to live your entire life as an actor, always smiling, always waiting, but hollow inside. That is the real danger of the narcissist, not only destroying himself, but dragging everyone around him into that endless addiction to eyes. Yet, not every narcissist ends this way. Some learn to raise their charm into a weapon, no longer begging for attention. They turn it into a tool of manipulation. And when that happens, the narcissist is no longer weak. He becomes something far more dangerous, a manipulator, a puppet himself, but one who holds the strings. The second darkness, the evolved narcissist. There's a kind of narcissist who does not collapse when the eyes turn away. He learns to use his natural charm, turning it into a weapon. This is no longer the man waiting to be applauded. This is the man who transforms a hunger for attention into a tool of manipulation. If the ordinary narcissist is a child who needs praise to exist, the evolved narcissist is a man with a cold face. He knows the craving within him. But instead of being enslaved, he flips the board. He controls that craving, not only his own, but that of others. He still needs eyes upon him, but now those eyes are chains to bind. He still needs compliments, but compliments are now transactions. He no longer begs for attention. He trades it. Have you ever met someone like this? Always sharing tiny fragments of truth, just enough for you to believe, just enough for you to lower your guard, and then you realize it was all a trap. In love, he does not seduce out desire. He seduces to control. He knows how to give you a touch of sweetness, a confession just enough, a moment of weakness that seems sincere. It is those fragments of truth that make you trust him. You open up, you fall into his arms, and when you fall, he locks the door. At work, he becomes a master actor. When needed, he appears humble. When needed, he erupts like a leader, but none of it is real. Every gesture, every word is chosen. The only purpose to keep you in his orbit. Have you ever seen a colleague like this? One who tells stories of failure in a way that makes him look brave. One who shares pain so you feel sympathy, but never shows the truth that makes him weak. That is not real. That is refined performance. What is frightening about the evolved narcissist is that he is no longer impulsive. If the ordinary narcissist is fragile, quick to anger, he restrains himself. He pretends to accept defeat. So you lower your guard. He knows how to smile even when his pride is cracking. He knows how to wait. And when the chance comes, he strikes coldly. In politics, in leadership, in society, this kind of man is especially dangerous because he does not charm for praise. He charms for control. He builds admiration not to fill an emptiness in his heart, but to use it as leverage for power. People do not only look at him, they believe him. And once they believe, they are no longer free. Do you recognize this in your life? How many times have you trusted someone just because they revealed a small truth that felt sincere? How many times have you lowered your guard thinking you found a soul that understood you? How many times have you been bound by someone's weakness? That is the terrifying evolution. The narcissist is no longer a fragile child. He is one who wields masks as swords. An actor so perfect that you don't even realize you're in the audience until your applause becomes your chains. Here is a key point. He has turned dependency into power. He controls the game, instead of being consumed by it. When that happens, the narcissist becomes a force. But the ruthless truth remains. The old wound never disappears. He seduces not to connect. He seduces because it gives him control. He shares not to bond. He shares so you get trapped in the snare of trust. And in the end, once he has what he wants, you are just a discarded pawn. Ask yourself, in your relationships, is there anyone who shows you just enough truth to make you believe, but never the whole? Anyone who makes you feel special, but in reality tells the same to everyone? Anyone who makes you the center, but in truth, You are only part of a larger plan. That is how the evolved narcissist operates. Silent, skillful, but ruthless. And this is only the second darkness. Behind it lies an even colder form. A kind of man who does not need eyes, does not need love, does not need compliments. What he needs is leverage. This is the crossroads of darkness, where the narcissist transforms into something else. A man who no longer lives for eyes, but lives for power. The Machiavellian. The third darkness, the Machiavellian. If the narcissist lives by eyes, the Machiavellian lives by shadows. If the narcissist craves love, the Machiavellian only wants your submission. This is the crossroads. Darkness is no longer a fragile craving. It has become calculation. No more addiction to praise. No more trembling at a cold glance. Only silence, coldness, and a mind watching you every second. The Machiavellian enters a room without speaking. He sits listening. The crowd thinks he is indifferent. But in truth, every frown, every trembling voice, every tiny detail has already been recorded. He does not need recognition. He needs information. He does not need your admiration. He needs your weakness. When others fight for attention, he stays silent. When others erupt with emotion, he observes. And in that moment, he has already won half the game. Have you ever seen someone like this? A colleague who speaks little, yet knows everything about you while you know nothing about them. A leader who never loses composure, but with a single sentence shifts the entire room. A figure in history sitting behind the throne, who with a flick of a finger topples dynasties. The Machiavellian does not see others as friends or enemies. They are pieces to use, to sharpen, to discard. No hatred, no emotion, only strategy. In love, the Machiavellian never reveals all. He shows you just enough. Enough to keep you curious, longing, unable to leave. You think you know him, but in truth, you only know the version he permits. At work, he does not rush into arguments. He lets everyone speak, reveal everything. Then one single line changes the outcome. You leave the meeting thinking you won, but in reality, he set that outcome before you even opened your mouth. Here is the ruthless truth. The Machiavellian understands everyone has a price. Loyalty can be bought. Trust can be controlled. Morality is just a mask. Truth is only the dagger hidden in the sleeve, drawn when needed. That is why he never loses composure. Not because he is kind, but because he has already accounted for everything. Betrayal, failure, loss. He writes them into the plan from the start. You think he is optimistic. In truth, he is cold. The most frightening thing about the Machiavellian is not intelligence. It is patience. The narcissist needs light now. The psychopath strikes immediately. But the Machiavellian, he waits. He sets traps slowly, not pushing you, but letting you step into the net yourself. And by the time you notice, every exit has long been sealed. Have you ever lived this? Sharing too much with someone you thought harmless, only to find one day that your own words became the rope around your neck. That is the Machiavellian. In society, he may smile, appear friendly, but in his mind, every word is a measure. Each time you speak, he records. Each time you slip, he marks it. And when the moment comes, he pulls one string, and the entire web around you collapses. No shouting, no threats, no need to appear. Just one move and the game ends. Do you see yourself here? Sitting silent in conversations, not joining, just observing, analyzing others like equations, not angered by betrayal because you foresaw it. That is the Machiavellian darkness within you. But he has a weakness. It is arrogance hidden in strategy. The moment he believes he is the smartest in the room, he slips. A plan, no matter how perfect, once revealed, becomes the trap that captures him. And history is full of men behind thrones undone by the smallest pawn. The Machiavellian is the crossroads of darkness. One who has surpassed the addiction to eyes, yet has not fallen into the abyss of meaninglessness. One who does not need love, does not need fear, only your submission. And if you see yourself in this mirror, remember this is only the second step, for there is a darkness far deeper. A kind of man who needs no eyes, no plans, no waiting. He only needs to act. And when he acts, no one has time to resist. The psychopath. The fourth darkness, the psychopath. There's a kind of man who needs no eyes, no admiration, no long-term plans. He only needs to act. The psychopath does not wait for opportunity. He creates it. No long calculations, no trembling at consequences. He is a storm that strikes suddenly, sweeping everything away. And by the time you realize it, it is already too late. The psychopath does not care about love, does not care about trust, does not care about laws. To him, those are only weak illusions others cling to. While you weigh right and wrong, he already strikes. While you still fear failure, he already wins. Have you ever met this kind of person? While you are still thinking, they slam the table and decide. While you hesitate, they step forward and impose. You look at him and think, this one is reckless. But to him, there is nothing to lose. And that is what makes him extremely dangerous. In society, the psychopath does not always reveal himself. Many are perfectly calm, even too calm. When the room panics, he sits still. When everyone argues, he stays silent. When someone cries, he stares with empty eyes. Not because he is strong, but because he feels nothing. No guilt, no regret, no fear, only emptiness. And from that emptiness, he grants himself permission to do anything. Envision this: a man walking through a battlefield of chaos. Bombs exploding, blood spilling. Others tremble, pray. He walks calmly as if on a familiar road. That is not courage. It is the total absence of fear. At work, he will cut an entire team, fire a department, break a project without blinking. Not because he seeks evil, but because to him people are only numbers, a line of data, a brick in the wall. If needed, he smashes it and replaces it. In love, he does not truly love you. He loves the power of watching you tremble at his silence. A cold stare, an abrupt withdrawal, a sudden disappearance. All of it makes you anxious, clinging, dependent. And to him, that is power. The psychopath does not wait like the Machiavellian. He does not weave complex traps. He does not calculate 10 moves ahead. He simply acts, fast, sudden, decisive. While Machiavellian pulls strings one by one, the psychopath severs the entire web in a single cut. And because he does not think of consequences, he has speed. In a world full of hesitation, the one who acts instantly is always the most terrifying. Have you seen this type before? In crisis, while others hesitate, he charges. In conflict, while others debate, he decides. On the battlefield, while others calculate losses, he strikes. That is his terrible advantage. Speed unchained from conscience. But the psychopath carries a tragedy. He can dominate. He can conquer. He can spread fear, but he cannot connect. He can build an empire, but sit alone on the throne. He can march across the battlefield, but behind him lies only ruin because he feels nothing. He belongs nowhere. No love, no true loyalty, no joy, no peace, only victory. And then emptiness. The psychopath is like a flame burning fiercely, destroying everything. But then that same fire consumes itself, because nothing remains to burn. If the narcissist dies in the absence of eyes, the Machiavellian dies from arrogance, then the psychopath dies in emptiness. That is the ultimate price of darkness. Absolute power, but absolute loneliness. And now the question is no longer, do you know someone like this? It is, do you recognize the psychopath within yourself? When you coldly cut ties without looking back. When you abandon someone to move forward. When you feel nothing but the urge to win at all costs. That is the psychopath within you whispering. And if you let him lead, you will rise to the top. But alone, the crossroads, master or slave. There are men who live their entire lives never realizing they are ruled by darkness. Some are imprisoned by the narcissist within, chasing eyes until they collapse. Some let the Machiavellian take over their mind, calculating everything, ending in lonely coldness. Some let the psychopath rise, ruthless and icy, only to fall into the abyss of emptiness. But there's a rare few who choose another path. They do not deny. They do not let the darkness consume them. They turn all three into tools. This man knows well the narcissist inside. He craves eyes. He craves recognition. But instead of living in dependence, he uses it as fuel, not chasing praise, but using the hunger for recognition to drive himself to become sharper, stronger, more dangerous. He no longer craves light. He turns light into a stepping stone. He also knows the Machiavellian whispers in his mind, a cold voice, analyzing, calculating. But instead of letting it isolate him, he uses it as strategy. He calculates, but does not let arrogance blind him. He is patient, but never forgets why he plays the game. A heart cold enough not to be wounded, yet awake enough not to forget the meaning of power. And he does not deny the psychopath. He knows there are times to cut, to be numb, to act decisively, but he does not let emptiness consume him. He uses that coldness as a blade. When it is time to strike, he does not tremble. When it is time to retreat, he does not regret. This is the difference. He does not deny. He does not fear. He does not let darkness control him. He turns darkness into a weapon. Look at history. Roman generals who could ignite admiration in their soldiers. Narcissist, who laid traps concealing strategies. Machiavellian, and when the moment came, struck ruthlessly, unflinching before blood and fire. Psychopath, it was this combination that built empires that would not die. Look at the modern age. Great leaders were never one-dimensional. They were magnetic enough to win the crowd's trust, cold enough to maintain control, and ruthless enough to make decisions others would not dare. What is frightening is not the narcissist, not the Machiavellian, not the psychopath. The most frightening is the man who sees all three within himself and knows how to use them. Do you feel this in yourself? The moment you enter a room and capture every eye, that is the narcissist. The moment you stay silent, observe, let others reveal themselves, then speak one line that flips the room, that is the Machiavellian. The moment you cut off a toxic bond without apology, that is the psychopath. The question is not whether you have darkness. It is whether you have the strength to turn it into power or let it enslave you. The master of darkness knows three truths. The eyes of others cannot be chains, only temporary fuel. Calculation cannot be a prison, only the board on which to play the necessary move. Ruthlessness cannot be emptiness, only the knife in your hand drawn when needed. He does not choose a mask. He looks into the mirror, sees all three masks, and knows when to wear them, when to remove them. This is the kind of man the world cannot predict. The crowd cannot control him with admiration. The rival cannot trap him with plans. The enemy cannot frighten him with ruthlessness because he has stepped beyond the game of each shadow. He is no longer ruled. He rules them. And now you must ask yourself, do you have the courage to do the same? Do you dare admit the narcissist, the Machiavellian, the psychopath within you? Do you dare stop running, stop pretending to be good, and begin turning them into weapons? If you can, you will cross into another world where no eyes make you tremble, where no plan makes you anxious, where no battle makes you afraid. You will no longer be the one who chases, no longer the one who calculates, no longer the one who is empty. You will become the one no one predicts, no one controls, no one defeats. The final price, solitude. But the story does not end here. Even as a master, there remains one final trial, a test before which most men break. Not the enemy outside, but the solitude within their own mind. You may master the narcissist within you. You may restrain the Machiavellian. You may wield the coldness of the psychopath as a blade. But understand this, no power comes free. The price of darkness is not failure. It is not spilled blood. It is not betrayal from others. The real price is solitude. When you no longer depend on eyes, you realize most people around you still live by them. They seek recognition. They want to be praised. They need comfort. But you, the one who has surpassed, are no longer like them. You sit in a room listening to them speak, reveal, long. You understand all of it. You may even guide them with a few words. But deep inside, you know you no longer belong to that world. When you learn the patience and strategy of Machiavellian, you become different. You do not react immediately. You do not fall into emotional traps. You let others reveal themselves while you stay silent and observe. And slowly, fewer and fewer people understand you. Have you ever heard this? He's too cold. He's too unpredictable. He's too distant. They say it because they cannot see the level you stand on, a level they will never reach. And that is what makes you solitary. When you learn to wield ruthlessness at the right time, like a controlled psychopath, you do not tremble when cutting. You do not ache when leaving. You do not drown in the past. You dare to act. And in that moment, you become the man no one wants to challenge, but also the man no one dares approach. This solitude does not come from outside. It comes from within. You know too well the nature of man. You see the masks they wear. You hear the real voices behind their words. And you no longer live in illusions. Once your eyes are open, they cannot close again. Envision this. You climb to the top of a mountain. Below, crowds fight for the light. You stand above, wind cutting your face. The view is vast. The air is pure. No more noise, but no one beside you. Every summit is cold. Solitude is the fate of those who choose to go all the way. Sometimes that solitude becomes a burden. You want to drop it, to live normal like others, to laugh naively, to believe in false praise, to love without fear of betrayal. But you cannot return. You know too much. You have seen too clearly. An eye once open cannot close. A mind once touched by darkness cannot pretend to be innocent. This is the ruthless paradox. The stronger you become, the lonelier you are, the clearer you see, the further you drift. The more you master the darkness, the more you must face its cost, the silence within your own soul. But do not mistake it. This solitude is not a curse. It is fire that tests gold. It is the trial that shows whether you have the will to go all the way. Most give up here. They cannot endure the emptiness. They return to the crowd, chaining themselves in illusions to feel safe. They accept living under false light just to avoid facing the shadow inside. Only a rare few continue. They choose to remain with solitude. They forge it into strength. They turn silence into a weapon no one can break. And those are the ones who become the most dangerous men in the room. Not because they shout, not because they rage, but because they carry within a calm no one can shake. Ask yourself, will you accept this price? Are you willing to go so far that you must stand alone? Do you dare to keep clarity when everyone else chooses blindness? If your answer is yes, you will ascend to the final level where there is no game of the narcissist, no strategy of the Machiavellian, no coldness of the psychopath, but something above them all. Ultimate awakening. The awakening. You have just walked through 3 kinds of darkness. You have faced a narcissist addicted to eyes, living for praise, collapsing when the applause fades. You have passed through the Machiavellian, silent observer, weaving traps with patience, calculating every cold move. And you have encountered the psychopath, striking like a storm, numb, ruthless, leaving only ruin behind. Each darkness is dangerous. Each darkness has a price. And the ruthless truth is this: you cannot escape them. They're already inside you. They whisper in every decision, every glance, every action. The only question is, will you let them control you or will you master them? Most men live their whole lives in the theater of the narcissist. They chase praise. They build their entire existence for recognition. And when the lights go out, they fall. Others are colder. They become Machiavellians. They are clever, calculating, but trapped in arrogance. They think they hold the game only to be caught in their own trap. And some fall into the abyss of the psychopath, unable to love, unable to connect, only knowing how to destroy. And one day they sit on the throne alone, cold, meaningless. But there is another path, the path of the few, the path of the awakened. They do not run from darkness. They do not pretend to be good. They do not let masks consume them. They look the narcissist in the mirror in the eye. They hear the Machiavellian whisper in their mind. They face the psychopath in the dark corner of the soul. And they turn all 3 into tools: fuel, weapons, shields. This man no longer depends on eyes, no longer trembles at betrayal, no longer chains himself to emotion. He enters a room and without a single word, his silence shifts everything. He does not need applause. He does not need lights. He does not need to be loved nor to be hated. The only thing he needs, mastery over himself. Here is the ruthless truth few dare to face in a world of illusions. The one who sees reality is the most dangerous of all. He is not innocent, not soft, not safe. He is awake. And that clarity makes the world tremble. So now I leave you with one question. Will you let darkness control you, or will you master it? Will you live as a chaser, the calculator, the destroyer? Or will you rise, awaken, and step into the rare brotherhood of those who dare to look in the mirror without running? If you are truly ready, leave one line in the comments. I master my darkness. Do not write anything else. Do not explain, do not justify, only that line. Because those who dare to write it are the ones who have stepped through the door. Look down at the comments. You will see you are not alone. You will see hundreds, thousands of men making the same vow. It is not just words. It is a ritual. It is the beginning of a community of the awakened, a community of those who master darkness, those who turn it into strength. And if you stop here, the darkness will still whisper, still control you as before. But if you want to go further, if you want to learn to turn every shadow into absolute advantage, watch the next video. Because what you have just heard is only the beginning. The door is opened. The question is, do you have the courage to step through?